My name is Jada. I'm 28 years old, and according to my husband, I am useless with money. He usually says it like a joke. He'll drop it into conversations the way other people drop movie quotes. At barbecues, in group chats, standing in the doorway of our 3-bedroom house with a beer in his hand and an audience he's trying to impress. Jada's a queen, he'll say, wrapping an arm around my waist. But don't ever let her near a checkbook. Numbers make her eyes cross. Everybody laughs. I laugh too, because what else am I supposed to do? Pull up my banking app and debate interest rates over ribs? It's easier to roll my eyes and play along. That's the thing about being a black woman who grew up hearing you have to be easy to love if you want to keep a man. Sometimes you swallow small lies because you're afraid of starting big fights. And for a long time it was easier to let the useless with money joke hang in the air than admit it made something inside me flinch every single time. He's not useless with money, though. If you ask him, he's brilliant with it. He'll show you color-coded spreadsheets on his laptop, graphs of our net worth trajectory. He'll talk about good debt, appreciation, how real wealth is built in assets, not paychecks. Then he'll gesture out the window at the house like he bought it with sheer IQ points. Brick front, small porch with a swing. 2 mismatched chairs I thrifted and repainted myself. To the outside world, it looks like the picture of stability. Our house, people say when they visit. Y'all really did it. He never corrects them out loud, but I notice the way his mouth curls when someone calls it ours. The way he says, just loud enough for me to hear. Technically, it's in my name, but yeah, we did the thing. Mortgage, his name. Deed, his name. Utilities, insurance, even the Wi-Fi, all drafted from an account I don't have the password to. When I asked him once, early on, if the mortgage could be in both our names, he laughed and kissed my forehead. "Babe, you don't put a learner's permit on a car title," he said. "You just got your credit out of the ICU. Let me drive this part. We'll add you later." Later never came. What did come were envelopes I wasn't allowed to open. At first it was, "Oh, that's just junk mail. Don't worry about it." Then it was, "Babe, all the important stuff goes to my email now. The paper copies are just duplicates." After a while, I got used to him scooping up the mail as soon as he came home, sorting it at the kitchen counter, sliding thick envelopes into that desk drawer in the office. The lock didn't start right away either. It showed up quietly, the way most bad habits do. One day the drawer closed soft. The next week it clicked. "You locked your desk?" I asked, trying to sound curious, not suspicious. He didn't look up from his laptop. "Yeah, I've got client files in there," he said. "Confidential stuff. You know how it is." I don't actually know how it is, because I do admin work at a nonprofit, and the most confidential thing I handle is how many cupcakes we're ordering. But I nodded because the last thing I wanted to be was the nosy wife who doesn't trust her man. Besides, he was the one who lifted me out of chaos. That's how he phrases it when he's being romantic. "When I met you, you were drowning," he likes to remind me. "Student loans, overdrafts, no plan. I put you on a budget, cleaned up your credit, put a roof over your head. You don't even stress about bills anymore. I did that." He's not entirely wrong. When we started dating, my checking account really did look like a crime scene. Fees stacked on top of each other, balances so low I could feel them in my chest. I'd grown up watching my mom rob Peter to pay Paul, then borrow from Paul's cousin just to keep the lights on. No one ever sat me down and explained APRs or minimum payments. Money was this loud, stressful thing adults argued about behind half-closed doors. He came in with Excel and bank apps and a confident smile, and for a while, it felt like safety. "Just send your check to the joint account," he said. "I'll handle the rest." That's what men are supposed to do. So I did. My direct deposit flows into an account with both our names on the debit card, but only one of us has the login. If I want to know the balance, I have to ask, If I'm out and my card gets declined because he forgot to transfer from his main account to ours, I'm the one standing at the register, feeling small, while the cashier stares at me like I'm trying to steal groceries. He always has a reason. "Oh, my bad, babe. I moved some money around. Forgot to tell you." "Oh, shoot. That auto draft hit early. I'll cover it next time." Damn, you know how banks are. They're always playing with pending charges. After a while, you stop questioning and start blaming yourself. Maybe I really am bad with money. Maybe asking, "Hey, can I see the budget?" is ungrateful when he's doing all the work. Whenever I get close to pushing, he does this thing where he weaponizes every statistic he's ever heard about black women and money. "You know the numbers," he'll say. "Black women retiring with nothing, getting played by these predatory lenders, all that. I'm trying to make sure you're not a statistic and you're mad at me? That's wild." And because I know those numbers are real, because I've seen aunties and cousins wiped out by one bad loan or one slick-talking man, guilt sits heavy on my tongue and I let the moment pass. The house becomes the proof that his way works. We have a guest room now, a little fenced yard where I planted tomatoes that never really grew. A kitchen big enough for more than one person to stand in. I work full-time and then come home and scrub baseboards, hang curtains, repaint walls the color he wants. "Look at you, homemaker," he teases. "See what happens when you let me steer the ship?" But every once in a while, the mask slips. Like the night I came home to find a bright orange envelope from the county stuck to our front door. And his hand snatched it down so fast you'd think it was on fire. "Baby, what was that?" I asked. "Nothing," he said, "just some tax nonsense. I'm handling it." Or the time I woke up at 2 in the morning to use the bathroom and heard his voice in the office, low and tense. "I told you, my wife doesn't handle the money," he was saying. "Just talk to me. I'll get you what you need once this deal closes." I stood in the hallway in my oversized t-shirt, heart beating in my ears, watching the sliver of light under the office door. When I pushed it open a few inches, the glow from his screen died as he closed his laptop in a rush. "You okay?" I asked. He jumped, then forced a smile. Yeah, just some work stuff. Go back to bed." The next day, the desk drawer made that sharp little click when he shut it. Lock engaged. Message received. I told myself I was imagining things, that all couples have secrets, that all men like a little control, that I was lucky, really. I had a husband, a house, a car that started most days. Maybe feeling uneasy was just my trauma brain, like he liked to say. Maybe asking for clarity would make me the problem. So I swallowed it, like I've swallowed a lot of things. Until the day I saw my entire life summarized in one line, printed in black ink on a piece of paper. He didn't mean for me to see. Primary owner, Carter Malcolm. Additional occupant, Jada Carter. Not co-owner, not co-borrower. Occupant, like a guest in a house I cleaned, decorated, and fell asleep praying in. That was the first time the joke, "You're useless with money," stopped feeling like a joke and started feeling like a plan. The word occupant won't leave me alone. It follows me around the house like a draft. I'm washing dishes, occupant. Folding laundry, occupant. Watering the half-dead plant in the corner of the living room, occupant. Not owner, not co-anything, just someone who happens to be here. I tell myself I'm being dramatic, that it's just legal language, that if I bring it up, he'll say, "Babe, that's just how the bank prints it. Don't be sensitive." And somehow we'll end up arguing about my tone instead of the fact that my entire life is built on paperwork with one name on it. And it's not mine, so I don't bring it up, not yet. The cracks don't start with a confession or a big fight. They start with a knock. 3 hard raps on the front door, early on a Tuesday evening. I'm in leggings and an oversized t-shirt, halfway through marinating chicken. Malcolm's supposed to be on his way home. I wipe my hands, check through the peephole, and see a man in a reflective vest holding a clipboard. Mrs. Carter? He asks when I open the door. Yes? He glances over my shoulder at the tidy living room, the gallery wall I spent 3 weekends hanging. I've got a notice for the homeowner, he says. Needs a signature. I hesitate. The word twists in my chest. I live here, I say. My husband's name is on the mortgage. I can sign. He shrugs, holds out the little digital pad. I scribble my name. He peels a bright yellow envelope off his clipboard and hands it to me. Make sure he sees it, he says. It's time sensitive. My stomach drops. Time sensitive is never birthday party energy. Time sensitive is always, you're about to be sorry you ignored the last letter. Okay, I manage. When I close the door, my hands are shaking. For a second, I just stand there, staring at the envelope. It has the county seal on it. Big block letters on the front. Important notice, property. Everything in me screams, open it now. But Malcolm's voice is louder in my head. You're nosy. You don't understand this stuff. You're going to work yourself up over nothing. I put it on the kitchen island and go back to the chicken. My heart is in the drawer with the knives. He walks in 15 minutes later, smelling like cologne and faint stress. Kisses me on the cheek, talks about traffic, drops his keys in the bowl by the door. Then he sees it. The easy smile drains off his face. What's that? He asks. Some guy dropped it off, I say, trying to sound casual. Said the homeowner had to sign for it. He crosses the room, picks it up like it might explode. You opened it? His voice is already sharp. No, I say quickly. I waited for you. He exhales through his nose, tears the top open with his thumb, scans the first page. His jaw tightens. The vein in his temple does that thing it does when he's mad but trying to stay calm. What is it? I ask. He folds the papers back into the envelope in one practiced motion. Nothing you need to stress about. Just some county assessment crap. They're always sending this stuff. Are you sure? I press. It said time sensitive and... Jada. My name comes out like a warning. I said I've got it. You worry about dinner. I'll worry about the house. That's how this works, remember? That little flare of shame hits my chest. I was just asking. And I'm just telling you, he says, dropping the envelope into his work bag, not the desk drawer. You spiral whenever you see numbers. I'm not about to spend my night talking you down over some bureaucratic nonsense. He walks out of the kitchen, already on his phone. End of conversation. But the image of his face when he first read that letter, that flash of real fear, before he smooths it over, burns into my brain. Nothing you need to stress about. That night, I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to him breathe next to me, and feel my body buzzing with a low, angry electricity. I might not know what an assessment notice looks like, but I know what a lie feels like. The drawer opens itself 3 weeks later. Not literally, but it might as well. It's a Saturday afternoon. He's in the office, pacing, voice low and tight. I'm in the hallway with a laundry basket, pretending to be busy. I told you I just need a little more time, he says into the phone. I've got some things in motion. No, she doesn't know the details, and I'd like to keep it that way. Look, worst case, I sell before it goes that far. The market's still hot. My heart stutters. Sell what? The pause that follows is thick. Then I walk, he says finally. My credit will recover. She'll just have to figure it out. She can go back to her mom's or something. It's not like she put any money into this. Something cracks so loud in my chest, I'm surprised he can't hear it through the wall. I back up, laundry basket pressed against my stomach, suddenly afraid he'll open the door and find me there with my heart on my face. The chair in his office scrapes. I'll call you back, he mutters. The floor creaks in that familiar pattern, the one that means he's headed to the kitchen. I duck into the bathroom and close the door, flicking on the fan to cover my breathing. Sell before it goes that far. Walk. She didn't put any money into this. The lie is so big it makes me dizzy. My paychecks have been flowing into that joint account for 3 years. My overtime, my tax refunds, the little $200 my grandma left me in a card. I might not have signed the mortgage, but I've been feeding it every month. Apparently, in his head, that counts as nothing. When I come out, he's leaning in the kitchen doorway, scrolling on his phone like nothing happened. He glances up, smiles like a man who didn't just float the idea of letting the bank eat our home. "You good?" he asks. "Yeah," I lie. "Just tired." "You stress too much," he says, kissing my forehead. "We're fine." The next day, we are not fine. We're in the middle of an argument about groceries of all things. Me asking why my card got declined again at the store. Him insisting the app glitched. When his phone buzzes, he glances at the screen, curses under his breath, and storms off toward the office. "Conversation not over," I call after him. "2 minutes," he throws back. Real life doesn't pause because you're in your feelings about chicken thighs. The door slams. I stand there in the doorway, fists clenched, staring at the closed office like it's a wall I'm never meant to get past. Then I hear it. The quiet, blessed sound of a drawer sliding open, then closing, with no click, no lock. Something in me steps forward before the rest of me can be scared. By the time I get to the office, he's on the phone again, back turned, voice low. I don't go in. I skirt the doorway, move down the hall like I'm heading for the bedroom. My heart is pounding so hard it makes my vision pulse. When I hear the front door open, the sound of him stomping out onto the porch to get better reception, I double back. The office smells like his cologne and printer ink. The blinds are half closed, throwing stripes of light across the desk. The drawer is sitting there. Closed. Unlocked. My hand hovers for 1 second. "You're nosy. You don't understand this stuff." My fingers curl around the handle anyway. The drawer slides open. Inside is a mess that looks exactly like the feeling I've had in my stomach for months. Crumpled envelopes, neatly stacked letters, glossy brochures from banks I'd never heard of. I pick up the first one with the county seal. Past due, property tax notice. The next one is worse. Notice of default, mortgage loan. My eyes skim, catching words that glow like hazard lights. Failure to cure, foreclosure proceedings. Trustee sale may be scheduled. I dig deeper. There's a statement with a bank name I don't recognize. Home equity line of credit. Another thick packet. Second mortgage terms and conditions. I flip through page after page of numbers that barely make sense to me. But one thing lands. He borrowed against the house. Twice. Under that stack, there's a letter from our original lender. My eyes catch on a line highlighted in yellow. Final notice before foreclosure action. I have to sit down. The office chair squeaks under my weight. Papers tremble in my hands. While I was repainting walls and buying throw pillows on clearance, he was using the house like an ATM, while I was clipping coupons and saying, maybe we should wait on that big TV. He was pulling out equity in chunks and calling it leverage. While he was calling me useless with money, he was quietly bleeding the one asset we had dry. And I was an occupant. My vision blurs, hot tears tracking down my face before I even realize I'm crying. Not the soft kind of crying you see in movies. The ugly kind. The "you played with my life" kind. On top of the pile is a single sheet I almost miss, half stuck to another letter. It's a printed email forwarded from his account to his work address. Subject: re-short sale option. The body is simple, clinical. If you're unable to bring the loan current, one option is to sell the property before foreclosure and satisfy as much of the balance as possible. Any remaining deficiency will be subject to negotiation. At the bottom, in blue ink in his handwriting, there's a note. If I sell in time, I walk clean. She'll land somewhere. She'll land somewhere. Like I'm a cat, he's tossing out a second-story window and trusting to figure it out on the way down. The front door opens. I jolt, shove the letters back into the drawer as neatly as I can manage, and close it just as his footsteps hit the hallway. He pops his head into the office, annoyed. "What are you doing in here?" "Looking for a pen," I say, my voice miraculously normal. "Couldn't find one in the kitchen." He grunts, yanks open the top drawer, rummages around, pulls one out. The lock clicks as he shuts it again, this time remembering. "Stay out of my work stuff," he says mildly. "You wouldn't understand it anyway. It'll just stress you out." He walks away, humming like a man who hasn't just had his entire game plan read over his shoulder. I sit there, heart pounding, reality shifting. He says I'm useless with money, but right now, I understand the most important thing in the room better than he does. This house is not the monument to his brilliance he thinks it is. It's a ticking bomb, and if I don't move, I'm gonna be the one standing in the rubble. The shame that used to keep me quiet starts to burn off, replaced by something clearer, sharper. Fear, yes, but underneath that, a new thought I haven't let myself have before. If he can make plans without telling me, so can I. The first plan I ever make in that house is not a meal plan, not a vacation plan, not a someday baby names list. It's an exit strategy. Not the dramatic throw clothes in a bag and bounce kind. A quiet one, a math one. I start with the only thing I can control without him noticing: information. At work, on my lunch break, I close my office door, pull up a browser window, and type with shaking fingers how to check my credit free. What happens when house goes into foreclosure? Spouse hiding foreclosure. What do? The search results are a mess: blogs, forums, ads. But a few things stand out again and again. I'm entitled to see my own credit reports. Foreclosure is a process, not a lightning bolt. If there's equity in a buyer, sometimes the person in the house can become the buyer. I don't understand all of it yet, but I understand enough to know I've been treated like a passenger on a plane that's been losing altitude for months, while the pilot smiles and tells me to enjoy the view. So, I pull my own credit. I expect a horror show. What I see surprises me. There are a couple of old mistakes: late student loan payments from before I met Malcolm, a closed credit card with a balance I finally paid off, but nothing new and ugly. No secret maxed out cards, no personal loans I didn't sign for. My score isn't amazing, but it's not in the basement either. It's workable, fixable. The most important part: there's nothing tying me directly to the mess I saw in that drawer. No missed mortgage payments in my name. No home equity lines. If this house burns down financially, my credit report doesn't have to burn with it, unless I stand too close. I sit back in my swivel chair, staring at the screen, feeling something I haven't felt in a long time when it comes to money: relief. Not because everything is okay. It's very much not okay. But because for once, there's proof that I am not the reckless one here. The next step is something I should have done a long time ago. I open my own account. Not the joint one, where my paycheck goes to be redistributed like an allowance. Mine. On my next day off, I tell Malcolm I'm meeting a friend for brunch. Technically, there will be coffee involved later, but that's not the point. So it's not even a full lie. But first, I go to a credit union branch across town, the one a coworker is always preaching about. The woman at the new accounts desk is a black lady in her 50s with locks pulled back into a bun and reading glasses on a chain. Her name tag says, "Gloria, here to help." That might be marketing, but when she looks at me, actually looks at me, I believe it. "What can we do for you today, Ms.?" She glances at my ID. "Ayers Carter?" I hesitate for half a second, then say, "Just Ayers is fine." She nods like that tells her more than I meant it to. "I'd like to open a checking and savings account," I say, "in my name only." She doesn't ask if my husband knows. She doesn't make a joke about, secret stash. She just says, "We can absolutely do that," and starts typing. We go through the basics: ID, address, employment. My hands only shake once when she asks for the account I want to link for the initial deposit. I send $200 from the joint account. He'll see it in the history if he scrolls, but I label it personal savings transfer, same as the random things he puts through. If he asks, I'll say it's a little cushion separate from bill money, so my card stops embarrassing me at the grocery store, which is also true. You'd be surprised how many women sit in that chair and whisper when they say, "Just my name," Gloria says quietly while the printer whirs. You don't have to whisper with me. I swallow. Is that what I did? She smiles, sliding the new debit card across to me. A little. I don't tell her that I'm not just opening an account. I'm opening a door. On the bus ride home, I stare at the new card in my hand. My name, clean and simple. Not occupant, owner, of at least this. The next domino falls because of a flyer tacked to the bulletin board at work. Community housing workshop. Struggling with payments, worried about foreclosure, free counseling. It feels like the universe is subtweeting me. The workshop is held in a church basement that smells like coffee and old carpet. There's a presentation about options, loan modifications, refinancing, short sales. People ask questions about late fees, about banks not returning calls. I sit in the back, hoodie up, trying not to look like a mess. Afterward, a volunteer announces that HUD-approved counselors are available for one-on-one appointments. I almost walk out. Then I think about that sentence in blue ink. She'll land somewhere. My feet turn toward the sign-up table on their own. My counselor's name is Ms. Denise. Another black woman, mid-40s, sharp suit, little gold cross at her neck. Her office is small but tidy. Walls lined with pamphlets and a big poster that says, "Know Your Rights" in block letters. So, she says, clicking her pen, "Tell me what's going on, Jada." Don't worry about sounding dramatic. I've heard it all. I start with the easy version. My husband handles the money. We're behind. I just want to understand what's happening. She nods, listening. Then I tell her about the drawer, the notices, the second mortgage, the email about selling the house and letting me land somewhere. Her face doesn't contort in shock. It tightens in a way that says, "This isn't new. I need to ask you something," she says. "Does your husband control all the accounts? Do you have regular access to statements, logins, that kind of thing?" "No," I admit. "If I want to know anything, I have to ask him. He says I stress too much and I wouldn't understand." She jots something down. "That's not just unhelpful," she says. "That's a form of financial abuse." The word lands in the space between us like a heavy coin. He's not hitting me," I say quickly, as if I have to defend him out of habit. "He pays the big bills. He bought the house. He just doesn't like when I question stuff." Miss Denise looks me right in the eye. "Financial abuse doesn't need bruises," she says. "If someone is hiding information, making all the decisions, using money to control where you live and how you feel about yourself, that's abuse. You're not crazy for feeling unsafe. You are unsafe. Hearing it from a stranger who is not inside my marriage, who doesn't have a stake in whether Malcolm looks good or not, makes something in me unclench. "Okay," I whisper. "So what do I do?" She turns her pad around and draws 3 boxes, just like Malik will, weeks later. "First, we get clear on the timeline," she says. "Show me whatever letters you've seen." I hand over the photos I took on my phone in the office while my hands were shaking. She zooms in, reads fast. "This one is the big one," she says, pointing at the final notice before foreclosure. "You're closer to the edge than he's telling you. Have you had a notice of sale posted on your door yet?" "Not that I've seen," I say. "Good. That means we probably still have some time. Not a lot, but some." "Time for what?" I ask. "Options," she says. "Plan A is always to see if the current borrower," she raises an eyebrow, "is willing and able to bring things current or work out a modification. But from what you've told me, he's not including you in those decisions, and he's talking about walking away." "He literally wrote 'I walk clean' on the paper," I say. She sighs. I wish I could say I was surprised. Here's the thing, Jada. If he lets this house go into foreclosure, both of you will be affected in certain ways. But because everything is in his name, the immediate blast hits his credit first. The bank, however, doesn't care about your marriage. They care about one thing: someone paying for that house long term. She flips to a fresh page. You have income. You have okay credit. You live there. In some situations, I've seen spouses, mostly women like you, become the buyer on the other side of a foreclosure or short sale. The bank doesn't care about the drama. They care about risk. A clean borrower who already loves the house is low risk. You're saying I could buy my own house back? I ask, brain spinning. I'm saying there are scenarios where that happens, she says carefully. It's not simple. It takes planning. And you've got a partner working against you, not with you. But if he's really willing to let this go down, you owe it to yourself to at least explore what it would take to step in. We talk logistics. My salary, my credit score, my debts. She prints out a preliminary budget and shows me in blunt numbers what I can actually afford on my own. It's terrifying. It's also not impossible. I'm going to refer you to a mortgage broker I trust, she says at the end. She's used to working with people in messy situations, foreclosures, divorces, all of it. Her name is Tamra. She's going to look at your file and tell you the truth, even if it's not what you want to hear. You ready for that? I think about Malcolm's truths, always slanted, always ending with me feeling small. Yes, I say, I'm ready. Tamra's office is nothing like the marble lobby of the bank where we signed our original mortgage. It's a converted bungalow with a jasmine bush creeping over the front porch and a hand-painted sign that says, Tamra Cole Home Lending. Let's talk like humans. She's a black woman in her 30s with box braids and sneakers, flipping through my paperwork with a highlighter and a furrowed brow. First things first, she says. You're not useless with money. Whoever told you that can sit down. I let out a startled laugh. My husband says it all the time. Yeah, he can definitely sit down, she mutters, making another note. Your credit isn't perfect, but it's far from hopeless. You've been doing the most with what you had. The problem isn't you. It's that you handed the steering wheel to someone who drives like a maniac. Tears sting my eyes, and I blink them back. I am not crying in front of a woman in Jordans with a highlighter. Okay, I say, steadying my voice. Realistically, if this house goes into foreclosure or a short sale, could I qualify to buy it? She leans back, thinking. Short version? Maybe, she says. There are rules about buying a house after foreclosure, especially if you were on the original loan. But you weren't. You're the occupant, not the borrower. That actually helps here. Occupant hurts a little less in her mouth. We'd need a few things, she continues, counting off on her fingers. 1. Steady documented income, which you have. 2. A cleanish credit report, which you also have, thank God. 3. Enough savings or help to cover closing costs and maybe a small down payment. And 4. A cooperative bank on the other side that cares more about minimizing loss than punishing your husband. And what about him, I ask. Can he stop me? She shrugs. He can make noise, but if the house is foreclosed on and sold as REO or through a short sale, his leverage is mostly gone. Right now, his power comes from you not knowing what's happening. You're already breaking that spell. The idea of him losing his grip because I read some letters and opened a bank account feels both too small and exactly right. Here's what I want to do, she says. I'm going to run you through a pre-approval as if you were buying a modest house right now. Not necessarily this one, just any house at this price point. That'll tell us if the numbers work in theory. Then we watch the foreclosure timeline like a hawk. If and when the bank moves to sell, we see if we can get you in the room. In the room as the buyer, she says. Maybe in your own name. Maybe through an LLC if we want some privacy at first, so he doesn't see your name on notices and lose his mind before we're ready. We'll decide that when we know what we're working with. She must see the panic flicker across my face, because her tone softens. Look, she says, this is a lot. I know. And I'm not telling you it's guaranteed, but right now, this man is moving like the only person with a game plan. That's not true anymore. You have options. You have time. Some, not a ton. And you have people who are not emotionally tangled up with him, looking at your situation and seeing possibility, not just disaster. I breathe out slowly. For so long, money talk has meant sitting across from Malcolm while he flicked through charts I couldn't see, telling me what I should be grateful for. This is different. This is me sitting at the table with my own stack of papers, my own questions, my own name on the application. By the time I leave, we've submitted the pre-approval packet, pay stubs, tax returns, bank statements, including my brand new account. Tamara says she'll call me when she hears back. On the bus home, my phone buzzes. It's Malcolm. Where are you at? I stare at the screen for a second, then type back. Running errands. Be back later. I slip the phone into my bag next to the folder from Tamara's office. The beginning of a paper trail with my name at the top in capital letters. If he can make big moves in secret, I can make quiet ones in self-defense. He thinks I'm an occupant auditioning for the right to stay. He has no idea I'm learning how to become the owner. Tamara calls me back on a Wednesday. I'm at my desk pretending to care about a spreadsheet when my phone buzzes. Her name on the screen makes my stomach flip. Hey Jada, she says when I answer, her tone unreadable. You got a minute? Yeah, I say, heart pounding. Should I go somewhere private? I'd recommend it. That's either really good or really bad. I duck into the supply closet, close the door, and sit on a crate of printer paper like a teenager sneaking a call. Okay, I say, hit me. She doesn't drag it out. You're pre-approved, she says, within the range we talked about. It's not a blank check, and you're going to have to be disciplined as hell. But the numbers work, on one income in your name. For a second, all I hear is the hum of the office air conditioning on the other side of the wall. You're serious? I whisper. I don't play about this, she says. You've got enough income, a decent enough score, and just enough wiggle room to handle a mortgage on a house like yours if we structure it right. You're not buying a mansion. You're buying something you're already keeping alive. I press a hand to my eyes, suddenly overwhelmed. This doesn't mean you have to, she adds quickly. It just means you can. Those are two different things. But options change everything. Options. I keep collecting that word like a charm. What do I do now? I ask. Now, she says, we watch. Has the bank posted a notice of sale yet? Not that I've seen, I say, but I know they sent a final notice. Okay, she says. When a sale date is set, we'll know. It has to be public. Your husband might be trying to ignore it, but the bank isn't. As soon as we get a date, I start making calls. Calls to who? I ask. To someone in their loss mitigation department, she says. Someone who cares more about clearing bad loans off their books than about your husband's pride. If this goes to auction, we'll see if they're open to a prearranged buyer, or if your offer can be on deck as soon as it becomes REO. The language is still half foreign, but the energy isn't. It feels like when my mom used to say, we can't stop the storm, but you can decide whether we're standing under a tree or under a roof when it hits. I'm also going to loop in an attorney I work with, Tamara adds. His whole thing is messy real estate, foreclosures, divorces, all that. If we go the LLC route, he's the guy to set it up clean, so your husband doesn't see your name until we want him to. Is that shady? I ask, even though some part of me already knows the answer. What your husband is doing, hiding foreclosure, planning to walk and let you land somewhere. That's shady, she says. You protecting yourself within the law? That's survival. I nod, even though she can't see me. Okay, I say, loop him in. The notice of sale shows up in the most disrespectful way possible, taped to my own front door. It's a month later. Malcolm's at work. I'm home early, balancing grocery bags on my hip, humming some song from the radio. Then I see it. White paper. Bold black letters. Trustee's notice of sale. My keys slip in my hand. For a second, the world narrows to just that one piece of paper and the pounding in my ears. Date, time, place. The house will be sold on the courthouse steps in 6 weeks. They don't say it like that, of course. They say, public auction to the highest bidder. But I can read between lines now. My phone is out before I even make it inside. First call, Tamara. She answers on the second ring. Tell me you're calling about brunch plans, she says. I wish, I say. We have a sale date. I read it to her, voice shaking. She whistles low. All right, 6 weeks is tight, but not nothing. I'll start reaching out to my contacts at the lender. Sometimes, if they know they've got a ready buyer, they'd rather skip the circus on the courthouse steps. Is that legal? I ask. It's called a pre-auction sale or negotiated short sale, she says. Totally legal. The bank gets a swift, clean exit. You get a shot at keeping your house. They're not doing you a favor. They're protecting their bottom line. Remember that. Second call. The attorney she recommended. His name is Jordan Blake, and he has the weary voice of a man who's seen too many people find out bad news from envelopes. He listens quietly while I explain, then says, the good news is your husband's the borrower, not you. That gives us some room to maneuver. The bank is not going to ask his permission to sell to you if you qualify, and they've already decided to take the house back. And the bad news? I ask. The bad news is we've got 6 weeks, a ticking foreclosure clock, and a spouse who may blow up if he finds out what we're doing too soon, he says. So we move fast and quiet. That cool with you? My old self would have worried about being sneaky. This version of me has read the line, I walk clean. She'll land somewhere, enough times to burn it into my brain. It's cool, I say. Tell me what you need. The next few weeks blur into a montage I never see in house hunting shows. I'm not picking paint colors. I'm answering questions about debt-to-income ratios and verifying employment and signing forms for an LLC with a boring name that doesn't scream, this is obviously me. Blake handles the legal side, articles of organization, operating agreement, tax ID. Tamara handles the lender. Emails, calls, a pitch that boils my whole life down into a risk assessment a stranger in a suit can understand. Current occupant, she tells them. Stable income, clean file, pre-approved. Motivated to maintain the property. If you're going to take a haircut on this loan anyway, better to do it with someone who's already paying the light bill. Meanwhile, inside my actual life, Malcolm is acting like we're living in a different movie. He's suddenly extra affectionate, bringing home takeout, talking about once this rough patch passes. Every now and then, I catch him staring at the door where the notice of sale used to be before he ripped it down. We'll probably get it sorted before that, he says if I look too long. These things take forever. Don't let them scare you. He has no idea I've already sent photos of that notice to 3 professionals and memorized every line. He has no idea there's another timeline running under his feet, and this time, I'm the one watching the clock. 2 weeks before the auction date, Tamara calls. You sitting down? She asks. I can be, I say, dropping onto the edge of the bed. The bank's loss mitigation team is willing to consider an offer from your LLC before auction, she says. They're taking a loss either way. They'd rather take it with fewer legal fees and less time wasted. Your pre-approval checks out. They want a formal contract on their desk in 5 days. My heart kicks. Is the price? She gives me the number. It's not a steal. It's not a miracle. It's basically the original mortgage balance minus some fees and plus others, adjusted for a market that's not as hot as it once was. But it's in the range we planned for. It's not the fantasy price Malcolm always bragged about when he talked about equity. It's the real, sober, slightly bruised value of a house someone has actually lived in and strained to keep. Can you do it? She asks. With the budget we set, the payment will be tight, but doable. You're not going to be bawling out, but you'll keep your home. Doable. That's all I need. Yes, I say, send me what I need to sign. Blake drafts the offer contract in record time. The LLC is the buyer. The bank is the seller. Malcolm is Nowhere. When I ask if that's going to be a problem, Blake shrugs. Foreclosure flips the script, he says. Once they take the property back, they're the ones on title. They're not obligated to clear every buyer with your soon-to-be ex. He made his choices when he stopped paying. Hearing someone call him soon-to-be ex out loud is a jolt. But it also feels true in a way husband hasn't for a long time. We sign, you wait. 3 days before the scheduled auction, the bank accepts. Just like that. After months of being shut out of conversations about my own roof, I am under contract to buy the house he always held over my head. Technically, the LLC is under contract. But the LLC is me. The closing is scheduled for the morning the auction would have been. I call out sick from work. Tamara meets me at the title office with coffee. Blake is already in the conference room, flipping through a stack of papers thick enough to use as a doorstop. This is going to feel unfair, he warns as we sit down. You're about to sign your name more times in 1 hour than you have in your entire life, and the man who put you in this position won't sign once. That's how foreclosure law works. You're cleaning up his mess. Just remember who ends up with the asset. I glance at the packet. Deed of trust, note, closing disclosure, LLC resolutions. For once, I'm not shrinking from the numbers. I'm leaning in. We go line by line, interest rate, term, payment, taxes, and insurance. There's no romantic language here, no our dream home, just math and signatures. At the end, the closer slides a final document across the table. This is the one that moves the house from the bank's name to the LLC's. To mine. Sign here, she says. This is the deed. My hand trembles for the first time all morning. I think about my mom in our cramped apartment, taping up pictures from magazines of houses she knew she'd never afford. I think about my grandmother praying over rent money in a wrinkled grocery envelope. I think about Malcolm's voice saying, "You're useless with money," while he quietly drove this place into a ditch. I sign. Jada Ayers, sole member, Oakline Services, LLC. It doesn't look like what people imagine when they talk about black homeownership. There's no big ceremony, no champagne, no giant ribbon. It's a tired black woman in a plain blouse, signing a paper in a room that smells like toner and burnt coffee, reclaiming the ground under her own feet. Congratulations, the closer says. You're officially the owner. I let the words sink in slowly. Owner, not occupant. Owner. Malcolm finds out a week later. We could have let the bank handle the communication. Let him get a cold, generic letter saying the house had been sold and he needed to vacate. But there's a part of me, a petty, wounded, newly powerful part, that wants to look him in the eye when the truth lands. Blake suggests we do it clean. Serve him with the separation papers and the notice about the sale the same day, he says. Short, factual, no gloating. If he wants answers, he can come to mediation. You don't owe him a monologue. But I want at least one line. He comes by on a Saturday to grab some of his stuff. He still has keys. That's about to change. I'm sitting at the kitchen table when he walks in, looking around like he's checking to see what's been taken from him. You look different, he says suspiciously. What's with the new attitude lately? I could tell him it's the lack of financial gaslighting in my diet. Instead, I nod toward the stack of envelopes on the table. One from Blake, one from the bank's asset management department. Those are for you, I say. You should read them. He rips open Blake's first. His eyes move across the page. Petition for legal separation. Mention of financial misconduct. Request to entangle our accounts. His jaw tightens. So that's what we're doing now? Lawyers? Keep reading, I say quietly. He snatches up the second envelope, tears it open. This one is shorter. It informs him in dry legal language that the property at our address has been sold by the lender to Oakline Services, LLC, and that any future occupancy needs to be arranged with the new owner under a lease agreement or vacated by a specified date. He frowns, reads it again. "What the hell is Oakline Services?" he demands. I slide my new set of keys across the table. "It's my company," I say, "and it owns this house now." For a second he laughs, a sharp, disbelieving sound. "Yeah, okay," he says. "Very funny, Jada. Did your little nonprofit pay you in monopoly money?" "I got pre-approved," I say calmly. "I had help. While you were hiding foreclosure notices and telling your friend you'd walk clean, I was meeting with a housing counselor, a mortgage broker, and an attorney. The bank decided they'd rather sell to someone who actually pays bills than keep playing chicken with you." His face goes slack. "You bought the house," he says, like the words don't fit together. "Out from under your name," I say. "Yes." The vein in his temple jumps. "With what?" he spits. "Your little check? You can't afford this house without me." "I can afford the house," I say. "What I couldn't afford was staying married to someone who would let it go to auction and call it walking clean." He flinches. "You went through my drawer," he snaps. "You had no right." "I had every right," I cut in. "I live here. I scrubbed these floors, painted these walls, cooked in this kitchen. You were fine leaving me as an occupant on paper so you could do whatever you wanted with the mortgage." That ended the day I saw a notice of sale on my own door. I let that sit. For once, he doesn't have a quick comeback. "So what now?" he finally says, voice low. "You gonna kick me out? Throw me out of my house?" "This isn't your house," I say. "Your name is off the deed. The lender sold it. You let it get that far. That's on you." His eyes are bright with fury. "You can stay until the date in that letter if you want," I add. "After that, it's up to the owner." "And that's you," he says bitterly. "That's me," I say. "The woman you said was useless with money." We stare at each other for a long moment. The old me would have filled the silence, backpedaled, softened it. This version just lets it be awkward. He looks away first. "This is messed up," he mutters. "You went behind my back." "You started this behind my back," I say. "I just finished it in front of you." He grabs his bag and storms toward the door, shoulders rigid. At the threshold, he pauses. "You'll regret this." He throws over his shoulder. "You don't know what you're doing." I look around at the house I now legally own. The house I clawed back from the edge of someone else's bad decisions. "I used to believe that," I say. "Not anymore." He slams the door so hard the frames rattle. I stand there in the quiet kitchen, heartbeat loud in my ears, keys heavy in my palm. For the first time since we moved in, the silence doesn't feel like waiting for him to come home. It feels like the sound of a house finally belonging to the person who actually lives in it. The thing nobody tells you about getting everything you wanted is how ordinary the days still are. Owning the house doesn't come with a soundtrack. There's no slow-motion montage of me dancing through the living room with a deed in my hand. Mostly, it's just life. Life, but different. The first different thing is stupid small. The mail. For the first time since we moved in, I open every envelope with our address on it. No one snatches it. No one calls me nosy. I stand at the kitchen island with a dull butter knife, slicing them open one by one. Tax statements, utility bills, junk coupons, a pre-approved credit card offer promising to fix all my problems in 28.99% APR. I laugh and shred that one first. Then I do something that would have started a fight before. I buy a file box. Not a locked drawer I'm not allowed to touch. A cheap plastic box from the office supply store with hanging folders I label myself. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, utilities, business, receipts. It takes an afternoon to slide everything into place, but when I'm done, my stomach isn't buzzing anymore. If a stranger walked in and asked, "Who runs this house?" I'd know the answer wasn't the man who left. The second different thing is the quiet. Not the kind that feels like you're waiting for someone to come home mad. Real quiet. The first night after he moves his last boxes out, I walk from room to room, just absorbing it. No TV blaring sports I don't care about. No lecture about phantom energy if I leave a lamp on. No heavy footsteps pacing the hallway while arguing with someone on the phone about leverage. Just the hum of the fridge, the distant rush of cars outside, and my own breath. I sleep with the bedroom door open at night. Not because I'm waiting, but because I'm not. The divorce moves forward the way all legal things do. Slowly, with too much paper and not enough poetry. Blake handles most of it. Asset division is short, since there aren't many assets left to fight over. The house is off the table. The bank sale to the LLC and the foreclosure documents make that clear. My lawyer's phrasing is dry and deadly. The marital home previously in respondent's name was transferred by lender to a third-party entity and is therefore not subject to equitable distribution. Translation: you lost it before we even got here, Malcolm. It's not ours to fight about anymore. We untangle the rest. The joint account is closed. The shady little store card in my name that I never opened gets disputed and removed. That personal loan with a signature that only vaguely looks like mine, the lender can't produce the original documents, and suddenly they're very open to taking his name only in exchange for me not pushing harder. Every time Blake emails me an update, I feel a little more weight slide off my shoulders. One day he forwards a notice. Please be advised, the following negative trade line has been removed from your client's credit report. I don't know who wrote that forged signature, but I know who doesn't have to eat the consequences anymore. Me. Owning the house on paper is one thing. Owning it in my body takes longer. For a while, I still move like I'm asking permission. I catch myself reaching for my phone when I want to adjust the thermostat, like I should check with someone. One evening, I'm standing in the hallway, staring at the ugly beige paint he insisted was neutral and better for resale. I hear his voice in my head. Don't go crazy with colors, Jada. Think like an investor. I roll my eyes and grab a roller. That weekend, the hallway turns a deep, deep purple. Warm green that makes my brown skin glow every time I pass a mirror. I hang a huge print of my grandmother smiling in front of the first car she ever bought herself, keys in hand. An ancestor gallery of Black women who sign things in their own names, even when the world told them they shouldn't. The third bedroom, formerly his office, becomes mine. Not the office, mine. I painted a soft clay color and drag in the thrift store desk I refinished one Saturday when I couldn't sleep. I set up my laptop, a second monitor I saved up for, a whiteboard on the wall with client names and deadlines. The little scheduling business I started, the one I dreamed up while looking at my father's old tool belt in the back of a closet, starts to grow roots here. Contractors call me from job sites, kids yelling in the background, asking if I can move Mrs. Johnson's water heater appointment to Friday. I send invoices, track payments, color code calendars. I upload scanned receipts into neatly labeled folders for people who have lived their whole lives tossing crumpled paper into shoeboxes. I'm not rolling in money, but I'm not drowning either. Month after month, the mortgage drafts from my account. Every time it does, I whisper, "paid," under my breath like a spell. Inside of a year, I know the number so well I can feel it in my bones. How much is principal? How much is interest? Tamara checks in once or twice, reviews my budget, high-fives me over Zoom when I hit my first year on-time payment streak. See? She grins. Useless with money, who? We both know the answer. Word gets around without me trying. A coworker hears part of the story in the break room. A cousin finds out from my mom. One by one, women start showing up in my kitchen on Sunday afternoons with their own stacks of unopened mail and nervous jokes. I start calling it Money Sundays, half as a joke, half as a ritual. No one pays me. There's a pot of beans on the stove, cornbread in the oven, and a pile of envelopes in the middle of the table. We sit, we eat, we open. One woman finds out her student loans have already defaulted, but there's a rehab program she can still get into. Another learns that the credit card she's been killing herself to pay is mostly interest, and a balance transfer could cut it in half. One auntie discovers a small retirement account her ex forgot to mention in the divorce. It's not life-changing money, but it's hers. We talk about shame and how it thrives in the dark. We talk about how we're all raised to be grateful for stability, even when it's just control in nicer clothes. I'm not an expert. I'm not a financial guru. I read printouts and websites out loud like everyone else. But I know how it feels to sit in a house you help pay for and still feel like a visitor. So I make a new rule for anyone who comes through my door. We don't call ourselves bad with money in this house, I say. We can say we weren't taught, we can say we're learning, but we don't hand our power away in a sentence. Sometimes late at night, I think about Malcolm. I know from mutual acquaintances that he's renting a small apartment across town now. His credit is bruised. He made some speech online about banks screwing people over, without mentioning the part where he tried to outrun his own choices. Once, he texted me, "You really think you won? Enjoy that mortgage on your own." I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back, "I'm not playing the game you're in anymore," and blocked the number. This isn't about winning against him. It's about winning against the version of me who thought she'd always need someone else to sit at the big desk and explain life to her in half-truths. The house itself feels different now too. Not because the bricks know my name, but because I treat it like what it is, a tool, not a trophy. The third year, I take in a renter for the smallest bedroom, an older woman from church who needed a safe place after her own man who handled everything disappeared. The extra income gives me breathing room and gives her time to reset. We cook together on Sundays, pay bills at the same table, compare notes on where we learned to be quiet when we should have been asking questions. Some nights, when the air is cool enough, I sit on the porch swing with a glass of tea and watch the street. Kids ride bikes in crooked circles. Someone's car stereo plays old R&B. The house I almost lost just sits there, solid, unimpressed. A neighbor jogs by and calls, "Evening, Jada." I call back, "Hey, how's it going?" I don't know what story they tell themselves about me. Maybe they think I'm just another woman who got lucky, whose husband set her up. The truth is quieter and harder to Instagram. I read my own mail. I pulled my own credit. I sat in enough fluorescent-lit offices to learn words that used to make me flinch. I listened to women who knew more than me. I chose paperwork over pride. And when the moment came, I signed my name on the line that mattered. On the anniversary of the closing, I take the old foreclosure notice out of the folder where I kept it. The paper is crinkled at the edges, tape marks still clinging to the top where it once hung crooked on my front door. I read it one more time. Trustee's notice of sale, public auction, highest bidder. Then I fold it neatly and slip it into a new folder labeled Things We Survived. I slide that folder behind the others: mortgage, taxes, business, like placing a brick in a foundation. He said I was useless with money. I say out loud to the empty kitchen just to hear it one more time. Then I look around at the house I bought back from the edge of his bad decisions. At the files in their plastic box. At the women who will be here next Sunday opening their own envelopes. Turns out, I murmur, smiling to myself, I just needed access. Access to information. Access to a seat at the table. Access to my own damn name on the deed. He thought the story ended with me landing somewhere. It didn't. It ended with me standing right here, in the house he almost let burn, holding the keys, proof that the girl he called an occupant was, the whole time, an owner waiting to wake up.